Do you know where the word masterpiece comes from? Watch along and let's see if you can answer this question without Googling it, but instead, using the hints I drop within this video. Well, the next story is not for those of a faint heart, and especially not for those who've been through rough patches before and those who've seen themselves at rock bottom due to financial constraints. Imagine having a 2-year-old who goes to a public school nearby. You are a parent in a dual income household and also a teacher in a public school system, teaching kids with special needs. There are about 35 kids in your classroom, and definitely each one of those precious kids needs the attention they deserve from you, and they ask for it in ways, let's say, seems correct to those little 8-year-olds. However, when you get back home, you cannot turn on the heating for yourself. In fact, you never do, unless for that 1 hour when your child is about to return home and you want him nice, warm, and comfortable. You and your family is otherwise freezing at other times because you cannot afford to turn the heating on. You haven't been eating properly for the last 1 week because if you do, you won't be able to afford that £5 petrol you intend to fill your gas tank with very soon. You are now at the mercy of your parents, who are contributing their bit to keep you and your family alive. All this despite being a dual income household. This isn't an exaggeration of what's real. This is in fact the reality of most teachers, just like Georgia Townshend, in the public school system of the United Kingdom. They care for your kids, 35 of them, all day long, all by themselves, and make them the knowledgeable and educated citizens that this country needs tomorrow. And what do they get in return? An income so low that they can't feed themselves without external help. Is that fair? Now you might question saying they might be doing a good job to ask for a payment above the inflation rate, but is it as strenuous of a job as of a nurse in the NHS, who are also resorting to food banks despite having a full-time job as a nurse, saving people's lives? Well, Georgia couldn't have answered this question better. She said everyone deserves a pay that will keep them alive, and that is a belief unions also share. Now, before you begin rolling your eyes and arguing, let me take you to the other side of the world, to the forbidden side. Since the year 2020, the richest 1% have accumulated twice as much new wealth as the rest of the world combined. And their share of new wealth has increased to 2/3 from the previous 50%. This was a report by both the Oxfam as well as the World Economic Forum. How was it possible? How is that in the same country where you have some of the world's most worker-friendly benefits and laws, you have few of the residents being 2 times more wealthier than the rest of the world, while the others are unable to feed themselves despite having a full-time job? This has been made possible through many different ways, but the prominent two are: number 1, lack of proper regulation and taxation, and number 2, exploitation of workers. You will have to watch my video on what is debt to understand the first one. And for the second one, let's talk about Amazon. It is estimated that nearly 1/4 of the world's workers are employed by Amazon. That, technically speaking, cannot be true. Liz Shuler is the president of AFL CIO in the United States. When she was interviewed, she was asked to comment on the Amazon's fair wage of $15 an hour. She was also asked to note that many companies do not offer as much as $15 an hour, which she responded by talking about how unions were the ones who made the $15 an hour happen, even though there isn't one for Amazon specifically. I'll link the interview down in the description box for you to listen to. But she missed an important point there that I would like to add. You see, when I said all those people employed by Amazon cannot be true, I say that because when Amazon made all those profits during the pandemic when our peaches were locked inside homes, it was possible because they hired most of their workers at 0-hour contracts. They weren't employees. There is a difference. If you want to know the difference, follow me on TikTok at TTOff_Nida Samad, and I'll tell you all about it. When they hired people at 0-hour contracts, they dusted their hands away from paying any benefits or employee protection. Furthermore, we all know about the first ever Amazon Union of the United States that was formed in April of 2022. Or should I say, only attempted to be formed in the New York City. There were many reasons why the formation of this union was important. I've been bombarded with news articles where Amazon workers are being made to work hours longer than their shifts, being asked to lift weights heavier than their body weight, and being exposed to unhealthy and even dangerous working conditions. If you don't think that's bad, then hear this one out. In Germany last year in August, an Amazon worker collapsed and died in the warehouse, and there was only a cardboard placed around him, and the warehouse operations continued. This is not a made-up nonsense. There is a link down in the description box down below for you to check out for yourself. And this wasn't an exceptional case either. 3 workers in a span of 3 weeks died in a warehouse in New Jersey. It is as though you can make a series of reaction videos out of just the Amazon fatal accidents, and despite all of this man is out to make striking even more difficult in the United Kingdom than it already is. And people are going about talking that unions are unimportant and even a threat. But I do realize the reason why. There were many instances where union leaders proved to be nothing less than satanic. The first form of, or let's say the first type of unions that the world saw before the Industrial Revolution were called the guilds, where there was a system where you started off as an apprentice to then become a journeyman who put forth their best work to attain the title of masters. However, the masters here were known to trouble the journeymen by leaving their work uncredited, leaving them underpaid, and even restricting them in many ways. They became the very oligarchical system that they swore to destroy. You probably heard about this happening in London and the horrific events that followed through. If you don't know about it, I will tell you. And I will also tell you about the battlefront-like union bustings and union strikes that happened over the years. That will make you laugh at Avengers. But for that, you will have to subscribe to my channel to know when the video is out. You see, it isn't very different if you look at the most recent times where few of the topmost union leaders of some established unions are found to be involved in racketeering, embezzlement, and even underworld collaboration. But my question is, forming or joining a union having ethical working practices in place that gives you an opportunity to not starve and die of cold weather despite having a full-time job, and an opportunity to be a part of an organization where your family does not have to worry about finding you dead under a cascade of boxes that fell over you while working. This actually happened, by the way. There is a link down in the description box down below. It happened once again in Amazon. Is it really a bad of an idea? A lot of us are being deprived of basic necessities, other than that of a pay that matches the inflation rate. The basic necessities that our ancestors fought for, and the boomers got themselves through unions. And look at you, sitting here, making fun of the generations before and after you by calling them weird names that are sometimes alphabetical and sometimes not. No, really, what is that about? Madam, look at your own life first, will you? The generations before you united and got themselves a decent standard of living at one person's salary. And look at you. You were sacked while on a maternity leave. And all that you and your friends from Ivy League, Silicon Valley, Russell Group institutions did was cry and beg for jobs on LinkedIn while talking about how Amazon sacked you while you were feeding your newborn. I do understand that it is much easier said than done, but it is definitely easier when more number of you unite and come together and voice your opinion against the same wrong thing. There were about 10 to 18,000 of you who got sacked that day without prior notice. You spend 8 to 10 hours each day working, and in today's day and age, if you do not think that your job is practically your life, then, my friend, you are Patrick the Star, living under a rock. When you were sacked from that job out of the blue, a piece of bread was snatched away from your and your family's mouth after having spent all those hours building the company for what it is today. When the CEO was there playing with those rocket ships, which, by the way, you helped fund. Open your eyes. Unionize.